we go. How's that?
Perfect.
Okay.
Roger, is it a morning or afternoon to you?
Yes. I mean, panning the world. Yes, it's afternoon right now.
It's afternoon.
I have a factory on the West Coast, so it's morning too.
Oh, fantastic. Perfect. All right. So again, thank you for joining the call today.
Of course.
Roger, you bring over 35 years of extensive experience in the construction and development sectors, the real estate business. You are the president and founder of FullStack Modular, a company specializing in modular construction and urban development solutions. Before founding FullStack Modular, you served as a senior vice president of mixed use and residential development at Forest City Ratner companies for 12 years. You led the entitlement and planning of over 1,000 residential apartment units integrated into retail projects during your tenure. 2008, Roger, you initiated a groundbreaking R&D project for modular construction within Forest City Ratner companies that resulted in the creation of FC Modular and the development of a factory to build the tallest volumetric modular building globally. Super exciting. We're going to talk about this in a minute.
Yeah.
And before joining Forest City Ratner companies, you owned and operated Fiber Media, a high-tech developer contractor based in the Midwest. I'm also curious, why did you call it Fiber Media when it's into development and contraction? But we'll see. We'll talk.
Well, we built data centers. So.
Oh, did you? Wow.
Yeah.
Superb. Great. Super excited because I used to be a certified data center design professional, and I also built data centers different areas of the world.
Yeah, exciting. a lot of our systems are sort of informed by what I learned, designing and manufacturing data centers. So
that's the thing, Roger. You have a diverse experience, right? I mean, you're talking data centers, you're talking about full stack modular, real estate, residential apartments. So these are different things, I guess. You are a guest lecturer at Yale, Harvard, and MIT. You actually was recognized with the Popular Mechanics Breakthrough Award in 2014 for your work. You hold a degree in management and organizational psychology from Babson College. So started with psychology, moved on to construction, worked in real estate, worked in data center, owned a company and a factory, started a company, reached out really high levels in some other company. Super exciting, very interesting background. Tell me about you, Roger.
I think you already told me about you, about me. I don't know what else to tell you.
How did these all come together? I mean, it's just a very diverse and exciting background.
I guess it's not exactly. I mean, it is diverse in that I worked in many sort of fields in the construction and development world for the most part. Everything you do informs everything you do. So obviously learning about things like I just described, data centers, taught me so much about electrical and mechanical distribution and structural distribution, et cetera, so on and so forth. So that also informed the process that we created a system to build mid to high rise modular buildings. And I thought a lot about, what I learned to do and not to do by building data centers. And then obviously, the world has known for a long time that the AEC industry really hasn't incorporated a manufacturing process for the final product. Like everything that goes into our buildings is manufactured. All the tools used to create it is manufactured, but the buildings are not. And so it just seemed like an illogical endpoint to a very intelligent, evolving process. And so between that and the sort of lack and diminishment of skilled trades and the availability associated with it, that made me look at inefficiencies and inefficiencies in the development process, inefficiencies in the construction process, and inefficiencies in the AEC industry holistically, and it's 13.5% of the world economy, and obviously the need for housing is growing, not diminishing. So even though many populations are starting to ease growth, the housing isn't coming anywhere close to catching up. So when there's a problem, some people look to solve it.
Let's start from Fiber Media. When did you start that company, and how long did it last?
I had a partner at Fiber Media. I want to say it was during the .com boom. So
2000.
Yeah, it ended in 2000. The boom, that was the bust. The boom was
90s,
roughly
early 90s.
Mid to late 90s, 94, 95, 96.
Mm-hmm.
And we designed and built and actually developed data centers for a lot of companies that are both still around and have since faded into the past. But we built a bunch of data centers all over the country and several around the world. And we had a process. We were early on adopters of sort of 3D BIM modeling, because for data centers, there's really no other way to do it. But it wasn't really happening many other places in the 90s. Like, it was a super complicated thing to do. Now, you can download a program from your iPhone and you can do a 3D modeling process. But at that point, it was quite arduous, but we learned a lot about it. So it was very informative. And then when the .com crash happened, we were fortunate enough not to get destroyed as a company, but the business dried up, as for a lot of years. Now it's on fire again, obviously, but it dried up for a lot of years. So I went back to my knitting. I, grew up in a development and construction family. So I went back to find opportunities of things that I had long had experience on, and ended up moving to New York for an opportunity. And then, of course, that opportunity grew into a quandary as to how we were going to achieve what it was we were doing in New York. Things were hot and crazy on the development world, but trade cost volatility in New York is much like the stock market. It goes up and down sort of in insane levels. And to try to figure out how to build affordable or attainable housing, using a volatile market like that just doesn't pencil. So we started looking for other alternatives, and that's how we ended up with FC Modular, which ultimately became FullStack.
And, describing your time at Forest City Radnor, for 12 years, was it primarily for residential apartments?
Yeah. So my role was actually, I was the first 2/3 of my tenure there, 10 years-ish, I was on the mixed use, the integration of residential into mixed use projects. So the retail / housing / which of course everybody does now, but at that time, my job was to try to figure out how to intelligently and attractively integrate housing in some of the large commercial projects that we were creating. And that's where I spent 2/3 of my time. And then once Forest City closed on Atlantic Yards, which is now Pacific Park, we had this need to build 6,500 affordable units in 22 acres, which is a massive ask. And so we needed a solution. And I put up, like, why don't we find another way to build these things that is at least cost predictable, if not cost savings. And then the bottom fell out of the residential market instead of the .com market at this time. And then 2007-ish, we had the opportunity to do some R&D to come up with a system that would be able to live in a dense urban environment.
And Roger, your background was primarily in construction or design. What area would you?
Yeah, I'm a hack. Construction and development mostly. And a bit of a hack. I like to push envelopes when it makes sense and when there's potentially a value proposition. And it has turned out that our system is very much, highly technical, highly designed, flexible, and adaptable, but still a system. And so obviously I've worked with a great team of people over the years to continuously improve. The other value of manufacturing is continuous improvement is normal course of business, right? So when we design and build buildings, usually you often can't even apply the lessons learned to the next project you're doing because there's a different team, a different group of people, a different set of engineers, and every time you do that, you have to learn it all over again, which is really inefficient. So the idea of having a team and partners that can continuously improve the process is where I come from.
So Fiber Media did design or construction and development, or both?
Started out in design and construction, and then later on in the years when there were empty data centers without ownership, we stepped in and developed a few of our own data centers and took them over and operated them, and then eventually sold them off.
Very interesting. I didn't know that there was a time where data centers got empty and nobody was interested in them.
Oh, it was abysmal. It was abysmal. It was overcapacity for a significant period of time. I would say it's probably 4 to 5 years, and then things sort of changed. Like the whole mechanism changed. Obviously, the amount of power per foot or power per meter needed was significantly different. The kind of machinery that was used was significantly different. So
100%.
A lot of edge data centers. So the whole concept really evolved. Not to say that there aren't still sort of lots of huge mega centers, but there is also a whole lot of distribution.
Well, that's the thing. They weren't modular back in the days. Data centers weren't modular like now, where you could. I mean, right now, they put the core and shell, and then they expand and certify based on the needs of the customer.
Yeah. You can. But my old partner in Fiber Media has a modular data center company, and you can just expand at will. It's completely organized.
Talk to me about FullStack Modular.
Sure. We're a design manufacturer company that is sort of trending towards design, manufacture, develop of multifamily buildings, dense urban environment, mid to high rise, all steel solution, fully integrated SMAP, basically anything just give us a platform to sit on, and everything from the bottom through the parapet is a mod. So stairwells, elevator shafts, stairs, fire safing, hallways, mechanical distribution, electrical and plumbing distribution, the structural system. It's an erector set and Legos. You get a kit, you put it together on site. The hallways are generally the construction site because everything else is finished in the factory, facades installed in the factory, and then you just stack it up. No scaffolding.
How does the process work, Roger? You receive the design from the architecture company, and then you go and
no, it's a design build process. We don't do what you just said.
It's the opposite way.
Well, no. We ask that the architects share agency with the system, right? So that they are still the architects. They still have lots of flexibility and design control. And they also have to work with our system and understand that the choices they're making can be highly efficient or highly inefficient, and then the relative costs associated with that. So it's always a design build process, or at least now it is. It didn't used to always be, but now it's really a design build process. So we work in conjunction with architect, engineer, and developer in a design build, agreement or integrated project delivery, or, all the things that are buzzwords, but incredibly important while utilizing a system like ours.
But you also have your own architecture house, right? So if a developer comes to you guys, you can do the whole thing.
We work with architects as an integrated system and plan. So if they say, look, I don't care, I just want to build this building, we can provide a full turnkey solution.
Is it more efficient going through that route versus doing the conventional one?
Yes, but efficiency doesn't all. Efficiency isn't the route that all people take. But yes, it is radically more efficient. But oftentimes, it requires trust in seating control. And historically, as an industry, we are not really good at that, right? We're not really good at saying, okay, team, let's march towards our goals. It's I'm holding this close to the chest because I don't want to tell you how much I want to pay for it. I'm holding this close to the chest because I don't want to give up my agency, and I'm holding this close to the chest because that has been how we've acted for so long, and it's incredibly unproductive. And anybody who's in the industry knows that. Like, I'm not blaming a specific group. I mean, we have created a very inefficient process. And there are so many more efficient processes.
What is the percentage today of buildings being built as modular, prefabricated, as you're explaining or describing, versus?
It varies significantly by location and style and type. But I mean, I think the important number is that, it's growing at least 8% per year. That's a significant growth, but and it may jump to 20, which it very easily could for certain product types. But it is growing every day.
Why not? Why not more? Why not? What prohibits developers from going that route?
Yeah, I don't. I'm not sure we have enough time to talk about what stops developers from doing something that makes sense. And I've been a developer myself. So, but look, the stakeholders in a process like this are generally, the design team, a developer, and then whoever is providing associated funding, and the insurance that is required in order to be able to meet the needs of that authority having jurisdiction. So if you take that as the group, in order to get them all aligned, it is a big paradigm shift, right? Because if you notice in the country, forget modular for a second, if you just look at like the percentage of projects that are going design build today, they're ever increasing. Like, you hear about more every day, public entities, private entities, but it's not a huge part of the process net. So as that evolves, obviously solutions, it's much easier to integrate a solution in a design build process. So as that moves, but it's a big paradigm shift. When you ask an architect to share agency with a system, they don't like it. I mean, oftentimes they're like, I can figure out how to build a modular building and design it. And that's what they do, right? And then they try, and then of course it's not utilizing a system, so it needs to be modified. But it's not typical for somebody to say, I just want to sit down with a team that I trust and figure out how to do it. Hopefully, we're getting there.